12月8日，国会以49比46发否决通讯230条款加入国防授权法案，从此大媒体随意删除个人账号和信息的保护盾将被清除。华为社参与监视维吾尔族，法国球星吉沙文决定终止代言合作。国际人权日，美国驻华使馆微博发文呼吁中国人大胆说，站起来。叶利孟博士发推表示，硫酸羟氯喹对抗新冠病毒不是神奇的药物，但目前是有用的和安全的。朱利安尼先生发推表示，上午11点将在乔治亚州立法会展示亚特兰大大学欺诈视频证据。川普发推称，不用再找操纵选举的证据，事实就是他们操纵了大选。川普发推表示，美国最高法院有机会将美国从历史上最大选举丑闻中解救出来，78%的人认为这次选举是被操纵的。川普发推表示，乔治亚州州长纵容选票作假，他的州长到头了。川普发推表示，一个在每个摇摆州都输掉10万张选票，不可能赢得选举，国家不能由一个非法总统去管理。朱利安尼发推质问，有多少民主党人被中共间谍渗透？参议员除了 Feinstein、Eric Swalwell 和 Joe Biden 还有谁？川普发推感谢加入德州发起的反对美国大选欺诈诉讼案的17个州。美国驻华大使馆发微博称，美国致力于将犯下战争罪、反人类罪及种族灭绝罪的人绳之以法，并提供高达500万美元的赏金。纽约总检察长莱利西亚詹姆斯与47位州检察长针对 Facebook 联合提起广泛的反托拉斯诉讼。
All at the expense of everyday users. By using its vast troves of data and money, Facebook has squashed or hindered what the company perceived as potential threats. They've reduced choices for consumers. They stifled innovation. And they degraded privacy protections for millions of Americans. In an effort to maintain its market dominance in social networking, Facebook has employed a buy or bury strategy to impede competing services. First, Facebook used vast amounts of money to acquire smaller rivals and potential rivals before they could threaten the company.
进行内容审查，宣布呢将会删除所有跟美国大选舞弊相关的影片，也引发美国政要的谴责。共和党参议员霍利在推文当中表示呢 ，Google 拥有的 YouTube 正式宣布不再允许言论自由。如果你关心大选的公正性，就只能闭上嘴巴，乖乖做好。他呼吁废除230条款，并且分拆这些科技巨头公司。而众议院共和党领袖麦卡锡则是讽刺地表示，还记得 YouTube 在2016年是如何反击左翼媒体对川普的打压，但是呢，显然的，每当言论立场不符合科技巨头的利益，那么它就会变成是危害人们的。
一位来自新疆的中国解放军将军孙广信，在美国最大空军飞行基地附近购买了超18万英亩地，预建风电场，但该地风能持续不足，买地动机遭怀疑。
Near the runway of the U.S.'s largest pilot training base for the Air Force.
A Chinese businessman, a former PLA general, has been acquiring massive stakes in Texas land. And this guy has literally built a runway on the ranch that you see the picture of myself standing in front of the gate on. And that runway can handle an Airbus A380. This is just a few miles from the Texas border, and it's in the flight area of Laughlin Air Force Base, where we do all of our pilot training, the majority of U.S. Air Force pilot training. It's insane that we allow the former Chinese PLA general to go buy 200 square miles of land in the United States. It's insane.
世界人权日，伊劳者持手榴弹上访，被特警在北京新坊区附近重重包围，官方封锁消息如下文。 党媒发文为即将到来的战争做铺垫，称切实把工作重心放在备战打仗上。美国联邦通信委员会驳回华为请求，正式将华为和中兴通讯列为国家安全威胁企业名单，党媒叫嚣称是执意打压。美国联邦通信委员会暂停中国电信在美运营进程，中共喉舌环球网称这是美国步步紧逼的打压行为。中共党内开启整顿清洗模式，公安部常务副部长王小红南下要求敢于刀刃向内。疫情持续升级，成都富士康科技园现场人山人海排队做核筛，出动大量全副武装的医护人员。
我们来看一条刚刚得到的消息。今天，黑龙江省东宁市新增1例新冠肺炎确诊病例。牡丹江市、东宁市立即启动3级应急响应，组织流调、检测和消杀专业队伍，全面开展流行病学调查、核酸检测、环境消杀和现场管控等措施。目前已追踪到密切接触者及密切接触者的密切接触者，均已落实集中隔离观察和核酸检测。
疾控中心报告新冠肺炎核酸检测1例阳性人员。该人自11月30日至12月4日，在学文河东部风暴区从事进境货物装卸武装。12月5日次日，12月9日，该人听说同事进行例行核酸检测信息后，自行到绥芬河市人民医院做核酸检测。12月10日，绥芬河市疾控中心核酸检测实验室检测结果为阳性。经绥芬河市网址研究决定，自12月10日20日起，将绥芬河市青民小区调整为
12月10日，河北邯郸白鹿寨村带领治安人员强行侵占农民土地，一老农倒地绝望疯狗。
别搁这了，那铁。哎，没活了。这不是他大不这是人。行啊，谁甩你叫他跟你走，叫他拉开我的跟你走走。有大伙有听他走，用了车，
公布数据显示，2020年全国粮食总产量为13390亿斤，产量连续6年保持在1.3万亿斤以上。粮食生产再获丰收，全国31个省区市中26个增产，其中河南、山东、山西、河北、新疆粮食产量均增加10亿吨。
以贪反贪，内蒙古倒查20年，9个月拿下41个厅官。
对在涉港问题上表现恶劣、负有主要责任的美国行政部门官员、国会人员、非政府组织人员及其直系亲属实施对等制裁。同时，中方决定取消美方持外交护照人员临时访问香港、澳门免签。
12月10日晚21点19分，台湾发生5.9级地震，福建多地也有明显震感。
地震啊！20分，东北地区发生中级有感地震，然后现在应该已经平了。行了，还有连站着怎么好像就感觉突然昏了一下，来。
中国科学院院士陶树发谬论称， 农村烧饭和取暖产生大量 PM2.5， 导致每年数十万人死亡。美国反共不反华，中共却要绑架所有中国人。网易称美国反华势力倒行逆施该收场了。新中国联邦人不惧严寒，揭露中共特务藤条的惩贼行动正在进行中。
Report by Axios has documented how a Chinese spy was able to infiltrate California politics, going after up-and-coming California politicians, including Congressman Eric Swalwell. The potential for greater political fame was there. U.S. officials do not believe the spy was able to receive or pass along sensitive information of note, Lee. But look what has taken place here. This, Eric Swalwell, in bed with the Chinese Communist Party, all the while spewing out these notions that President Trump was colluding with Russia. And here we are, Eric Swalwell, and fundraising with this Chinese spy.
I mean, look, that's what's been going on the last 4 years. There really has been intentional misdirection. It's not just a lot of noise, people talking about Russia and Trump and collusion. There's something that's been going on, and it's older than 4 years. This has been going on since at least 2001, when China joined the WTO. But the amount of money, the amount of Chinese money and influence circulating throughout Washington is extensive. The Swalwell story is something, it's a replay. Remember, we've seen the same story with Senator Dianne Feinstein as well. So this is certainly not the first time. And again, the way that I see it, it's not just Swalwell is small potatoes, right? The bigger issue is, again, the corporate and the corporate elite right now, the different people whose center of gravity is their relationship to cheap Chinese labor. Those are people who are really calling the shots, and that's very dangerous.
Mike Pompeo issues a call to the world's democracies to hold authoritarian governments accountable. Here's One America's Hans Hubbard with this report.
Consequences should follow the disruptive acts of authoritarian regimes, according to the Secretary of State. During a Monday interview with Matt Murray of the Wall Street Journal CEO Council, Mike Pompeo urged world leaders to ensure assaults on the global rules-based order do not go unpunished, particularly when rogue nations renege on their commitments to the international community. He singled out China, pointing to its crackdown on Hong Kong and arguing if the Chinese Communist Party wishes to erase all remnants of the island's democratic institutions, backing down on its previous pledge to allow it a measure of self-rule, then the world should remove its special trade status and treat Hong Kong as, quote, no longer anything but another Chinese communist-run city.
But most importantly, I think what the whole world can demand of the Chinese Communist Party is that it lives up to the promises that it made. You mentioned Hong Kong. They made a commitment, a 50-year commitment. They welched on it about halfway through. When the world sees that, there has to be a...
How long has China really been working on this influence campaign? And tell me about how strong their reach is on U.S. politics.
Well, China's been working on the influence campaign against the United States since perhaps the 1980s. It's intensified recently, and it's directed at all levels of the U.S. government, as well as local and state governments. And it's also directed at the media, NGOs, all sorts of institutions throughout the U.S. This is a broad-based effort. It's been going on for decades, and it's massive.
Yeah, that's quite concerning, of course. And there's also a new report out by Axios that alleges a Chinese spy was able to infiltrate into several U.S. politicians, one of those offices being Congressman Eric Swalwell. How are you reading into this report? Do you believe that he could be compromised based on what this report alleges?
Yeah, the important thing from this report is it shows that Beijing has been going after low-level government officials because Swalwell was a council member of a municipality then. And it's just hoped that people like Swalwell would actually rise, go to Congress, and in his case, sit on the Intelligence Committee. Now, I don't know if he's been compromised, but the point is he has been carrying a Beijing narrative for the last several years because he talks about how it's Russia, 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 and he downplays the threat from China. Now, I don't know whether this is intentional, but clearly this is something that is just music to Beijing's ears.
We've been speaking with Dr. Patrick Byrne, the founder of Overstock, a guy with a PhD from Stanford, a guy that was buddies with Warren Buffett and Milton Friedman. And we're talking about some of the unusual things that his team, a team he worked with, found in the 2020 presidential election in particular. So, Patrick, tell us, what has the research uncovered?
Well, what they did was, in a sense, the Democrats are correct in that they keep saying the fraud wasn't widespread. Well, it was very strategic and very focused. It was indeed focused, not widespread. It was focused on 6 counties. They figured out that if you jack, in the sense of hijack, like carjacking, if you election jack in 6 counties, in America, you can steal the nation. You don't have to steal the whole nation, just steal 6 counties. And those counties are the ones where Atlanta, Philly, Detroit, Milwaukee, Maricopa County, which is Greater Phoenix, and Clark, which is Greater Vegas. You steal those 6 places, or even just a few of them, you flip the states that they're in, which flips the Electoral College, which flips the nation. So really, stealing the United States comes down to stealing 6 counties.
I understand the threat of China very well. And I know that China and the Communist Party has been able to infiltrate U.S. institutions from the inside, whether it be the embassy and getting information and working at the Houston embassy, whether it be the chemistry professor at Harvard, or Eric Swalwell. Tell me what you know took place here, and why for 3 years was Eric Swalwell all over the media saying that Donald Trump was colluding with Russia when he was in fact sleeping with the Chinese Communist Party?
Well, this doesn't make any sense. Swalwell sits there and is part of the Russia disinformation campaign against Trump. He's got this relationship with a spy from the Communist Party of China. We know that the Communist Party of China is doing everything they can to kill our way of government and our way of life. And Swalwell's got, our most important secrets because he's on intelligence. So how can we, this is so basic. Nancy Pelosi cannot allow him to stay on the Intelligence Committee, and he's got to come clean with this. He won't tell us what his relationship was, if he still has a relationship. So let's get the facts. But in the meantime, he needs to get off intelligence. He's got access to information that could hurt us, and he's got a relationship with the Communist Party of China. It's as simple as that.
And it turned out I had pneumonia. Didn't know I had pneumonia. I didn't have the symptoms. And it was fairly serious, not terrible, but not moderate. But within 3 days, they got me all better. They put me immediately on remdesivir. They gave me a steroid. By the next day, I was feeling better. Then I took the Regeneron. That was a miracle drug. And by yesterday, I was released. I'd say I'm 100% now. And pretty much free of the virus. I have to wait until Sunday to be absolutely sure. The doctor is pretty certain that I'm free of it right now. So I'm feeling good, almost normal.
Well, I tell you, you've had prayers. I've never seen anything like it. People were saying rosaries. People were saying novenas. Prayer groups were meeting. People in China reached out to me.
Wasn't that so nice?
The whistleblower. The whistleblower movement, the new federal state, it was an outpouring of affection and deep admiration for the work you're doing. And thank God, providentially, we had Dr. Ryan on the scene, or you would have gotten much worse. I want to thank everything that turned out.
Oh, she was terrific. My son, Andrew, stayed with me for 72 hours. He stayed in the hospital with me, and he got all my work done. So I was able to keep up with a lot of the work.
But here's the thing that's amazing. You didn't miss a beat. So much action took place over those couple of days. And quite frankly, you came on the show Saturday morning, our show Saturday morning, and Mara, no offense, you didn't look any worse than usual for the wear. And you were fabulous on Maria Bartiromo. So we're glad you're back. Okay, so Mayor, let's pull the camera back. You made a statement. The reason we wanted to start with the cold open of you in Georgia, you made a very, I think, powerful statement that people that deny this are either blind or they're lying about the voter fraud that went on and the election fraud that went on. Now we're before, the Supreme Court now has the arguments from Texas, 17 or 18 amicus briefs. I think a couple of people have jumped in as into that lawsuit also, right? You've got President Trump has intervened with John Eastman, and we know Eastman was working for many, many weeks on this. You guys were thinking this through. The counter arguments came back. Essentially, every state in the union looks like it's now, we're going to put a map up later. You got the map that shows that basically the states are divided on this. You've got, I think, 18, 19, I think Idaho came in last night, 19 states supporting Texas. A bunch, I think 14 states came in supporting Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin and Georgia. Where do you think we stand? Well, I want to first off, where do you stand? Where do you believe we actually stand with the Supreme Court actually taking this up and starting to review this weekend? Where do you think we stand with this whole thing?
这个狄东升是上天送给我们的礼物啊！据说今天上午11点，还有下午3点的秘密听证上，狄东升的视频都作为证据之一出现。哇塞，这个厉害了啊！而且和狄东升打交道的人现场作证，证明和狄东升之间的来往和狄东升说的话都是真的。还提供了狄东升在欧洲布鲁塞尔、在里昂还有在那个叫什么那个小城市小镇叫什么这个瑞士旁边那个小镇叫什么了？苏黎世边上那个叫什么很小的一个小城市，不是卢森堡，这也不是。不是瑞士牛，不是牛，达沃斯，对，达沃斯，战友牛，在达沃斯达沃斯，哎呀，这战友你们太可爱了，有你们真好所以说跟这个战友们跟你们在一起交流是真是这没动，你看你又完了，这就是你所以说兄弟姐妹们。今天这就是为啥1周以前我会给你们说，一个普通的直播告诉了你们，发生了什么事情，就能这一个狄东升，前所未有的能作为一个秘密重要听证会的证据，它可能将影响整个的这个世界的格局，这是多么的重要啊！天意吧，战友们，这是有天意吗？关键是说送了这么一个主，我认为今天发生的事情应该是在3、4个月以后，甚至半年。现在就是突然天降此大礼。
德国卫生官员发出警告，周4报告了创纪录的23769例新增感染。朝鲜对世卫组织声称，已经对9000多人进行了测试，未发现病毒病例。美国疾病控制与预防中心预计，到1月2日将有36200美国人因病毒感染死亡。加拿大批准了辉瑞疫苗，预计下周将首次开始接种。韩国加快建设集装箱医院病床，以对抗第3次病毒感染浪潮。日本将购买10500台用于疫苗存储的冰柜。多家公司声称，黑客在欧洲窃取了辉瑞公司的疫苗数据。在关系紧张局势下，中国对澳大利亚的葡萄酒征收更多的税收。
mama, are you okay over there? Your son is crying and missing you, and sees you in his dreams. You sent Jake down to CCP, cause it's God's will, it's God's will. So I'll wait for you, and I'll see you when we end the CCP, yeah.